Welcome to Retire Smart Maryland. My name is Cynthia Defazio, and I'm joined today by Prashant and Ozer of Elite Income Advisors. Prashant, how are you today?
I am doing excellent. Thank you. How are you?
I am fantastic. Thank you so much for asking.
Yeah.
And Ozer, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Good, good. I'm so happy to have you both in the studio because obviously you always take the time to come in and do the shows, and I realize you're extremely busy. Obviously, the television show has been doing so well, and people have so many questions about how to plan their perfect retirement. But today we're going to talk about a very important subject. People are often confused about investing as they approach the retirement years. Prashant, why is this something that people should be thinking about carefully?
Look, I think for 30 or 40 years, you're taught to do things one way, right? You're taught to put money away into your 401k account. You're putting away 10, 15, 20% of your paycheck, and that is all in pursuit of growing a balance in your retirement accounts that is big enough so that when you retire, you can draw on that balance to then live your most fulfilling version of retirement. So that's all well and good until we actually get to retirement or within that last 5 to 10 years away from retirement. And then we realize at some point, I got to take this 401k balance or your IRA or your TSP, whatever your retirement savings are, and use it to actually create a paycheck for yourself. I mean, when you think about this, while you're working, your financial life really just comes down to what I call money in and money out. Your paychecks, they come in, your expenses go out, and you try your best to save as much money as you possibly can. And when you retire, that doesn't really change. It's still very much so about the income that comes in and the expenses that go out. But what changes is where that income comes from. And so I feel like, every time we come out and we film new episodes of TV, it's really nice to be able to bring in real life problems that our viewership comes in and expresses to us. And one of the things I've seen just in the last, 3 or 4 months here is that people don't know where that paycheck is going to come from. With pensions starting to go away, with increased market volatility, the Federal Reserve being at the forefront of what goes on in the stock market, where's my paycheck going to come from has to be the number one problem that we are helping clients solve every day. So large part of that is investing. We'll get into it on the show today, but I'll tell you what, we're hearing it more often. Where is my paycheck going to come from in retirement?
Sure. And then, Ozer, the other question would it be, can I retire? Is that what you're hearing a lot as well? People want to know, can they financially retire?
Yes, most of the time when the people comes in, the first question they ask, like what Prashant said, so the paychecks are coming in. When I retire, am I going to be able to afford the same paychecks is like when I work?
Exactly.
So what we do is we take a look at, people's situation. They say they make, $10,000 a month, and when they retire, they're going to get, husband and wife from Social Security, $5,000. Where is the other $5,000 is going to come from? We're going to have to find a way to show the client where they can take money and get that $5,000 like a clockwork for the rest of their lives.
Sure, sure. It makes sense. And Prashant, we've talked about how long someone should stay in the market. Let's talk a little bit about that because people sometimes think when they're getting to the retirement years, they should just not invest at all. Let's talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, I think going extreme, whether it's keeping all your money in the market or keeping none of your money in the market, that's very rarely the correct thing to do, right? So let's look at this. I was looking at some return statistics. If you look back to 1970, hypothetically, if I just took $100 and put it in the stock market in 1970 and didn't touch that money all the way through 2023, that $100 through compounding alone would be worth $22,419. Okay, heck of a return over a long period of time.
If you don't touch.
If you don't touch it, exactly. And so what that tells me is that by far, time is the very most important thing that will determine whether or not any particular individual will be successful in investing money. The challenge is, when I get to retirement or close to retirement, what is the one thing that I don't have quite as much of?
Time.
It's time.
Yes.
And so we're faced with this pretty big dilemma as I see it, which is I need to be able to leave my money in the market without touching it. But I also need to touch my money to create the income that we need to be able to retire. So this is how we think about money, okay? Someone comes into the office, maybe you did a great job saving, you saved $1 million. When we look at your plan, we don't see $1 million. What we see is how many different distinct buckets of money do we actually have to be able to generate the type of retirement income that you desire. I'll give you an interesting example. We had someone come into the office recently, $1 million. They were 65 years old at the time. And what we found, spouse was 60 years old. So we have a 65 and a 60-year-old, $1 million. And they told us that they needed to create about $4,000 a month of additional income off of their $1 million of savings.
Okay.
So instead of leaving their $1 million all in the market, where it's subjected to those ups and downs, which, by the way, if the market crashes and you're pulling money out at the same time, makes it really, really difficult to then recover your balances.
Wow.
So this is how we were able to help them. We bucketed their money. So on the $1 million, we took $500,000, we left it in the market.
Okay.
And when the market goes up, they'll touch that $500,000 to generate the income that they need. But when the market goes down, we set up another bucket for them. And check this out, Cynthia, really interesting. We took $500,000 and what we did is we put it in a totally safe bucket of money. Actually, believe it or not, this was one of those newer fixed indexed annuity accounts that were out there.
Okay.
And we can talk about this after the break here, but with this fixed indexed annuity, they were going to work another 5 years. They took that $500,000 and without touching it for 5 years, it will generate $48,855 per year of income. Check this out, every year for the rest of both of their lifetimes.
Wow.
And so what we did is with the stroke of a pen, we effectively closed their income gap day one and secured all of the income that they're going to need in retirement, which, you know what it does? It buys them time. All the money that they left in their risk bucket, they can let it go through the ups and downs because they know exactly where their paycheck is going to come from. So folks, if you are struggling to figure out where your paycheck is going to come from, you got to pick up the phone and give us a call. That phone number is 833-308-5200. When you dial that phone number, you can schedule a complimentary, no cost, no obligation visit with our team at Elite Income Advisors. When you come in to visit with us, it's just a conversation about your retirement plan. Our team of licensed advisors is going to sit down with you, help you determine what your monthly income target should be after taking into account taxes and inflation, and we're going to help you put together that income for life plan. Income for life plan will help you map out that income each and every year for the rest of your lifetime. We'll show you different ways to create the retirement income that you're going to need to live your most fulfilling version of retirement. Appointments are totally free of cost, but you do have to pick up the phone, have your calendar in front of you, and schedule that no-cost Retire Smart road mapping appointment with our team at Elite Income Advisors. 833-308-5200.
Prashant, thank you so much. Ozzy, thank you so much. To the viewers at home, there's a number to call on your screen. That number is 833-308-5200. We realize that you're in the viewing audience today and you're asking yourself, do I have the right plan for my retirement? Do I know where my sources of income are coming from in the retirement years? If the answer is no, this is the perfect opportunity for you to claim that spot today by calling in to 833-308-5200 or click on that QR code at the bottom corner of your screen. That will take you right to the landing page for Elite Income Advisors. You can claim your spot accordingly. We're going to take a very short commercial break, but do you wonder overall, where does your city lie in some of the expensive cities to date from coast to coast? We're going to do a deep dive into how expensive it is to live in certain cities when we come back.
I was always big on the numbers. Growing up, always had a spreadsheet, making budget. My father and my uncle, they were both kind of in the financial service industry. It's like, I love the numbers. I like helping the people.
Ozzy and I have been working together really for 12 years now. We both worked at a big insurance company.
And one day my manager came in and he introduced me to Prashant and he said, hey, you know, I do think that you guys might be a good match to each other. He just graduated from the school.
I think we both kind of just knew right then that it was a really good fit.
We start working together, then I found this business that was going to be up for sale. And I said, like, you know, I'm interested. And then we get into a deal, and I asked Prashant if he wants to join, and he says, yeah, sure, why not?
We transitioned our insurance practice from the original owner who was retiring, and then we co-founded together Elite Income Advisors. What motivates me, my mom was diagnosed with frontal lobe dementia when I first started. That's kind of what gives me the passion to do what I do. I know how stressful it can be, so I've lived through not just the financial side of dealing with that, but if I can help other people, navigate some of the things that I've personally experienced.
Welcome back to Retire Smart Maryland. My name is Cynthia Defazio, joined today by Prashant Sabapathy and Ozzie Coolhagel of Elite Income Advisors, and we're talking all about things that relate to your retirement, I should say. Before we jump into these $1 million cities, gentlemen, because I can't wait to get in, that's going to be so interesting. One of the things that you mentioned, Prashant, in our first segment, annuities. Ozzie, let me ask you a question. Annuities, are they a good fit for everyone, and how did they work to help provide peace of mind for that family?
And let me start saying, not everybody needs an annuity.
Okay.
We want to make sure we are putting it out there.
Okay.
What I look at it is like, when we are working, we have health insurance. When we buy a house, we have house insurance. When we buy a car, we have car insurance. So when we stop working, there is no new income coming in. So why don't we buy an insurance to protect our income? That's how I take a look at it.
Sure.
And everyone's situation is different. And we want to put as little as possible to an annuity. We don't want to put a lot of money into an annuity. All we wanted to try to close the income gap for the future, so our paychecks are still gonna come in.
Absolutely. It makes perfect sense. Well, I'm so glad that we took a little bit of a deep dive into that, because I think it was very interesting how you mentioned that earlier. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Moving into these $1 million cities, I want to talk about this a little bit, Prashant, because obviously when the show came out, $1 million listing, that seemed like it was so much, right?
Yeah.
But now, overall, it's really not. There are some cities that actually have quite a few $1 million cities.
Yeah, that's right. So, of all the states in the nation, Maryland, I think, is number 10 with the most cities that have a typical home value of $1 million or more.
Incredible.
And so what that tells me as a retirement advisor is two things. Number one is that staying in Maryland with the way property taxes are becomes more difficult, right?
That's true.
The higher the home value, typically the higher the tax bill is going to be associated with that. And number two is the higher the cost of actually maintaining the home, and cost of living tends to be higher. No surprise that the number one state in the nation is California, which as of February of 2024 had 210 cities with $1 million house value or more.
Wow.
Okay, and so as we know, taxes are higher in California. And so what we're seeing in the state of Maryland is we're seeing more of our clients working in Maryland retiring than moving to Delaware, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Texas, Florida to reduce cost of living. So people oftentimes ask me, how do you ensure that I'm not going to have to move? Look, our families are here. We worked here. We don't want to move out of Maryland, but sometimes Maryland feels like it's making it impossible to stay. And so to me, the way I look at it, I always say the higher the income, the better the outcome when we get to retirement, right? So one way to combat higher cost of living, higher inflation, higher property taxes is to make sure that you have disposable income in your back pocket so that you can deal with those types of things, right? Because look, we don't know what the Federal Reserve is going to do. We don't know what's going to happen with inflation. All we can do as retirement advisors is to get our clients' income in retirement as high as possible. We want to do that as quickly as possible, but most importantly, we want to be able to do that as safely as possible. We don't want to take on a whole heck of a lot of risk in figuring out how we can get your income as high as possible.
And that brings up a very good question. How do you help determine if someone is taking too much risk, Ozzie? Because that is something that's a fine line right there.
Like we usually say, when you are working, you are in the accumulation phase.
Yep.
You're trying to make as much as possible. But when you know that you're getting close to retirement, like let's say like the 5 years, you're going to have to start reducing our risk, because all you have to look at it is how much income do you need and where is that income is going to come from. Do you need to take a lot of risk? Sometimes we see clients with like $2-3 million, and they only need, let's say, I'm just making up a number, like $40,000, but they are like heavily invested in the market. And what's going to happen when the market crashes?
Yes.
Their income needs are going to be the same, but they don't have enough money right now.
I kind of go back to that old 4% rule that people used to talk about, right? So you would be able to take your retirement balance multiplied by 4%, and that was the amount of income you could generate from your portfolio, right? And that sounded great. If you had $2 or $3 million and you only needed $40,000 a year, $2 or $3 million goes a heck of a long way when you multiply it by 4%. The risk is what happens if 2 million becomes 1 million.
Yes.
I don't think there's an understanding from people of how much risk they're taking truly. And the reason I know that is because we have people come in to visit with us every single day, and all we do all day is analyze portfolios. And when we analyze portfolios and we stress test them, I'll see maximum risk potential where your 401k may be at 30, 40, or 50% downside risk due to the way that it's invested. So here's a question. I always talk about risk tolerance versus risk capacity.
Okay.
Risk tolerance to me is the old school way of thinking where somebody asks you, are you conservative, moderate, or aggressive investor? Our advisors do not ask our clients what their risk tolerance is. What we ask about is what I call risk capacity. Okay, to our viewership out there, how much money could you lose before it makes you feel uncomfortable in the stock market? If you have $1 million and you wanted to take $40,000 a year of income, how low could that $1 million go before you begin to feel uncomfortable about the amount of income you can generate if your account was to go through a 30 or a 40% level of decline? I think these are the questions that we have to start asking. And one of the things that we do as a part of the Retire Smart road mapping process is a risk analysis. And what we'll do is we'll actually assign a risk number to your portfolio. 99 means it's extremely risky. 1 means it's totally safe.
Okay.
And I can't tell you how many times people say to us, I hope that my maximum loss is between 10 and 15%. And we run their portfolio analysis and their risk number is 65, 70 out of 99, which means that their max risk is like 40 or 50%.
Wow.
And that is a scary thing to go through. So folks, if you've never had that risk analysis done, if you don't know what your risk number is or what it should be, schedule one of those free appointments with our team. It's 833-308-5200. That's 833-308-5200. You can also scan the QR code that you see on your screen, and you'll be able to schedule that complimentary no-cost visit. Now, when you come in to visit with us, you are not agreeing to become a client. What you are doing is you're getting exactly what you need, which is a real written financial plan. It's going to include an income for life report. It'll help you with Social Security optimization. It will also include that risk analysis report, which will help you understand how much risk you're taking and whether or not you're operating outside of your risk tolerance. It all starts with that phone call. It's 833-308-5200. Dial now.
Prashant, thank you so much. Ozzy, thank you. To the viewers at home, that number to call is 833-308-5200. And if you're in the viewing audience and you're asking yourself, am I taking too much risk? How would I even know? This is the perfect opportunity for you to claim that spot today. All you have to do is call in 833-308-5200 or grab your smartphone, click on that QR code at the bottom corner of your screen. That will take you right to the landing page for Elite Income Advisors, and you can schedule your time accordingly. We're going to take a very short commercial break. Don't go anywhere. We're talking all about things that relate to your retirement. We've talked about risk. Now we're going to talk a little bit about taxes when we come back. Stay tuned.
Imagine not having to face your retirement journey with the same old corporate solutions just like everyone else. In these economic times, you deserve a fresh perspective that includes a personalized income plan and a tax map from independent fiduciary advisors who focus on you. Call the number that you see here. Schedule your complimentary review right now.
Welcome back to Retire Smart Maryland. My name is Cynthia Defazio, joined today by Prashant Sabapathy and Ozzie Coolhagel of Elite Income Advisors, and we're talking all about your retirement planning. We've talked about income planning. We've talked about risk. I want to talk a little bit about taxes in retirement. Gentlemen, how often do you have people come into the office, Ozzie, where they're kind of not even thinking about what their tax obligation could be in the retirement years? Because a lot of people think that they're going to pay less taxes because they're going to be earning less. So let's talk a little bit about that.
I think that's a very common mistake, especially when the people comes to office. So most of the, working couples, so to speak, they are trying to get the same income at the retirement and when they are working, right? So how are you going to do that? That you saved all your life on the IRAs and 401ks and you're going to start taking income out of it. But they never think about that they have to pay the taxes on the money from the IRA accounts or 401k in the before tax accounts that they're going to take it out. And, they don't go around by the CPAs or they don't go around by the, the tax person. All they do is like they take the money out and sometimes they don't have enough taxes. And the next year Uncle Sam comes in and says that you're going to have to pay another $10,000 and it's a huge problem. And we always ask people that you're going to have to talk to a CPA to make sure that you are doing the proper tax holdings. Especially in our office, we have a CPA in our office, and the person is always available to talk to our clients, to look at their returns. If they need, Roth conversions, we always run by the CPA.
Fantastic.
I think to add on to this, it's who would have known 40 years ago the environment that we'd be in today, right? Like we were always told that taking the tax deduction up front by putting the money in the 401k or the IRA or the TSP was the right thing to do because we'd be in a lower income bracket in retirement. And what we're finding more and more often is because our clients are really good savers. I mean, like most of the people that come in to visit with us, they've done a heck of a job saving money, $500,000, $2 million. They come in, but the problem is all that money is in their pre-tax retirement accounts. And so what happens inevitably is they get to the age of the required minimum distribution. Okay, so check this out. Whether you need the income or not, when you turn the age of 73 years old, the IRS forces you to take out that required minimum distribution, or RMD. Now, it's roughly 4%. It starts at a number slightly less than that, but the percentage actually increases over time. So let's think about this for a second. You saved $2 million for retirement, and now whether you actually need to tap into that $2 million or not, Uncle Sam makes you take out nearly $80,000 of income. And guess what? When you take that income out, what do you have to do?
Pay taxes.
You got to pay taxes.
What
Federal.
happens if you don't take it out, by the way?
Then there's a penalty if you don't take it out. So you can't just like put your head in the sand and hope that the problem goes away.
Okay.
And so what it creates is this domino effect where now I have higher income. Higher income leads to potentially higher taxes. Higher taxes potentially lead to more Medicare premiums and legacy planning issues. Like there's a lot that goes into this, and not having an efficient required minimum distribution and tax plan coordinated together tends to be one of the bigger mistakes that we tend to see. And so, the question we get all the time is, okay, I understand there's a problem. How do I solve it? Right?
Yes.
And so I think that's where we have to go. And I think that's why having a written financial plan makes so much sense, because it's not just about setting up that plan one time. It's about doing constant maintenance on that plan over time. I mean, how many times do you meet with people and the very first time we put a financial plan in place, they love it, and then they come back for their review in 3 months and they say, oh, I don't quite remember what you told me about this or that or the other thing, right?
And the people tend to forget stuff. But that's the reason that in Elite Income Advisors, what we do is we meet with our clients periodically to make sure that, we are reminding them what's the plan, and what they need to do. And when the next year comes in, they don't need to owe money, hopefully, because they, put enough holdings for the IRS. These are the important things. That's why that they need to talk to a financial advisor and a certified, accountant.
Absolutely, it makes perfect sense. And obviously, working with you gentlemen, you stay on top of all of the changes that come, especially with RMDs, because there have been some changes with that. So you let your clients know as well.
Yeah, but believe it or not, the required minimum distribution age used to be 70 and a half years old. They actually raised it to 72, and then when Secure Act and Secure Act 2.0 came out, they increased it again to 73 years old. And by the way, within the next 10 to 15 years, that number will scale up to 75 years old. So those rules are always changing.
Okay.
The second thing to bring up is the state of our tax code right now.
Yes.
Okay, we're currently, through the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, we're currently operating in one of the most favorable tax codes in American history. Taxes are historically low. Now, believe me, we all pay a lot of taxes.
Of course.
It doesn't feel like taxes are extremely low, but I'll tell you what, if you don't think that they're low now, just wait and see what will happen come 2026. I mean, the writing is already on the wall that this current tax code is going to be sunsetting at the end of 2025, and going into January of 2026, we will revert back to the old tax code where the marginal tax brackets were all a heck of a lot higher.
Absolutely.
People always ask me, Prashant, taxes are going to go up. What can I really do about it? I'm always going to have to pay taxes. Well, true, you do always have to pay your taxes, but the way we look at it is we're now faced with an opportunity. Now, it's a limited time opportunity because we only have until the end of 2025 to actually do proactive tax planning, things like Roth conversion, things like proactive IRA drawdown, where you draw down your IRAs intentionally and put that money to better tax-free use in the future. These are the things that retirement advisors at large are not talking enough about. If you're working with a retirement advisor and they have not talked to you about tax-free income and the importance of taking advantage of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act before the tax code expires, pick up the phone, give us a call. This will be your last opportunity for today's program to call in and secure one of those free appointments with our team of specialists at Elite Income Advisors. Phone number again, 833-308-5200. You can also pull out your cell phone, scan the QR code as an added bonus. If you scan the QR code or visit retiremaryland.com, we'll also give you a totally free copy of my book. It's Fiscal Health, Retirement Wealth. It is your prescription for income generation, tax management, financial peace of mind. Pick up the phone, make the phone call, schedule the appointment, get your Retire Smart roadmap in place today.
Prashant, thank you so much. Ozzy, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, most specifically, we'd like to thank you for spending time with us today. That number to call once again, 833-308-5200. Claim your spot today. This is your opportunity to take control of your retirement years. Be safe, be happy, and be blessed. We'll see you back here 1 week from today on Retire Smart Maryland. Take care now.